Hello and welcome to this microchip tutorial video on installing SoftConsole version 6 with Renode on openSUSE. To install SoftConsole, there are several steps that you have to take. The first is to download a copy of the installer and the release notes from the MicroSemi website. Next, the installer has to be made executable and then run to install SoftConsole. After you've installed, there are several commands to run to add packages, and then the sources for monocomplete need to be added, and then monocomplete package needs to be installed as well. So now let's have a look at actually doing this on openSUSE. So the first thing I have to do is download a copy of the release notes and the installer from the MicroSemi website. So I'll open up Firefox and do that now. The easiest way to find the SoftConsole product page is to go to microsemi.com/FPGA. Once the page is loaded up, go to the FPGA and SoC Design Tools tab. Once you're here, you can select SoftConsole from the left-hand side. This will take you to the SoftConsole product page. From here you can go to the Downloads tab and download the SoftConsole version 6 download for Linux. This will take you to the MicroSemi SoC portal, and you can log in with your username and password here. If you haven't got an account, you can set one up by selecting New User. Once you've logged in, you can click on the link to start the download of SoftConsole. While that downloads, I'm also going to go back and get a copy of the release notes. So now that they've finished downloading, I'm going to go to my Downloads folder. You can see here I have a copy of the SoftConsole release notes and the installer, and I'm going to open up the release notes now. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go to the Installation section, the Linux heading, and then Installing. So this gives you some information about the SoftConsole installer, and says it's a 64-bit executable GUI-based program, and this is the application here. When you download the installer, you need to ensure that the executable permission bit is set before attempting to run it by using a chmod +x followed by the name of the installer command. You can then run the installer by typing in // and the name of the installer. So if I open up a terminal, I'm going to do that now. So the first thing to do is chmod +x and then the name of the installer. Once I've run that, I can type in // and the name of the installer again to actually launch it. So this is launched and it's asking if I want to run the installer. Sometimes this window might not appear, and I'm going to show you how you can resolve that now. The easiest way is to run the installer in console mode by typing in the name of the installer followed by -- mode console. And if I do that in my terminal now, by adding in -- mode console to the command I just run, the installer is going to launch, but in this case it's going to run from the console and not give me a GUI. So I'm going to stop that and go back and run the installer in GUI mode. So now that the install wizard has actually launched, I'm going to select Next and then accept the terms in the license agreement. The next screen is just some README information, and then it'll show me the install path for my SoftConsole installation. Finally, it'll give me a summary of the installation and then run through it. Now that that's complete, I just have a reminder that there are some post-install steps that have to be taken, and those can be found in the release notes. I'm going to just select Finish and close the installer. So now that that's done, I'm going to go back to the release notes, and in the Linux section again, I'm going to select After Installing. So this section lists off several commands that you have to run once you've installed SoftConsole, and the first allows you to debug hardware targets, and there's a 32-bit package that has to be installed. And I need to be running with sudo or root privileges when I do this. So as I'm running openSUSE, I'm going to copy and paste the commands for openSUSE directly from the release notes into my terminal. And before I hit paste, I'm going to make sure that I'm root, and then paste the command into the terminal to run it. Now that that command is finished running, I can go back to the release notes, and the next command I have to run is to make sure that the GCC and make packages are installed. These are normally installed by default, but it's easier to make sure that they're there. So once again, I'm going to copy and paste the commands directly from the release notes into my terminal. And now that that's complete, there's one last set of commands that I have to run, and these are to make sure that the mono complete packages are installed. So these are needed to run Renode, and there's a link here to the mono project download section. However, when you're running on openSUSE, openSUSE Leap 15 is not actually supported by the mono project, and therefore the packages supplied with the distribution need to be used. Leap 15 includes Mono 5, which is what Renode requires, and that's what we're going to install. So the openSUSE commands are listed here, and I'm going to just copy and paste once again directly from the release notes into my terminal. Now that Mono is finished installing, I've run all of the post-installation commands that need to be done. There's just one final section at the end which allows you to run SoftConsole without being root by changing the openOCD udev rules. You don't have to do this to use Renode, but this is required if you want to run SoftConsole without being root and debug hardware targets. So now that I've finished all of that, I can close my console and my terminal, and now I can run SoftConsole. So I'm going to launch by double clicking on the SoftConsole icon on my desktop, and the first time you launch, you're going to be given two example workspaces that you can choose from, one called workspace.examples and one called workspace.empty. Workspace.empty doesn't have any projects in it, and workspace.examples contains several example projects. So I'm going to launch the example workspace. So now that SoftConsole's launched, the first thing that runs on the first launch is the C/C++ indexer. When you run this, sometimes it can cause errors to occur, and just to show this, I'm going to close all unrelated projects to the RV32 IM Sysdig Blinky project. So you can see it's closed all of the projects, but now it's also come up with an error. And that's saying that the PSE Blinky project is not open, and that's because it had actually already closed. And this was just because the C/C++ indexer was running in the background. So now I just want to check and make sure that I've set everything up for Renode correctly. So I can do this using the external tool configurations, and here you can see that there are two pre-configured launchers for Renode. One is the Mi5 Renode emulation platform, and the other is the PolarFire SoC Renode emulation platform. And these are both pre-configured to launch Renode for you. I'm going to test and run the Mi5 Renode emulation platform. So now you can see Renode has launched, and I've also got my Renode UART analyzer. This shows that I've successfully set up SoftConsole version 6 with Renode. So I can now close Renode, and I can remove my terminated launchers by clicking on the double X icon from the console. Just finally, to summarize everything that was covered in this video, the first step that was taken was to download the SoftConsole installer and release notes from the Microsemi website. Next, the installer was made executable using a chmod+x command and then run to install SoftConsole. There were several post-install commands that were run to add packages, and then finally monocomplete was installed. We have a significant amount of supporting content available for SoftConsole and Renode, and this can be found by going to the Microsemi website, then the Mi5 RISC-V ecosystem, and the Renode webinar series section.